My name's Shan. I'm a stand-up comedian, I'm a writer and a performer and a creative producer. And I've been working with Dr Ina Linge on a project called The Politics of Sexual Nature.
My main research interests are in the history of sexuality, and specifically I look at the early 20th century in Germany. And I'm interested in the ways in which literature, visual culture and sciences co-construct ideas about sex, gender and sexuality. And often sexual knowledge production invokes categories of the natural and nature in general. And so in my new project, I'm interested in the ways in which sexual knowledge production takes place by looking at non-human animals, nature, this category of the natural, and the environment in general.
Animals, plants, sexy rocks, whatever you want. How knowledge from that is used to draw conclusions about human sexuality, or for example, how knowledge is maybe withheld about the natural world. So we aren't told how horny and chaotic and queer nature is to push certain kinds of politics or cultural norms about human beings.
One of the things I found really surprising was to understand how interesting it could be to work with a comedian and to introduce comedy into a topic that is that can be quite a serious, quite an important topic, talking about LGBTQ plus identities and how they are projected into nature. That's a really important, and the stakes are really high, and it is a really important topic to many people. And at the same time, how comedy can make really difficult, academically difficult topics so much more accessible and also really interesting.
The Salon is a gig slash networking event slash improvised comedy experience. And the way that it runs in synopsis is we bring participant guests into a Zoom room where there's a combination of academics giving talks and then comedy acts, and we use bits from the academic talks to build games with the audience and challenges. So everyone works together to, kind of co-create something in the space. The aim of this is to recreate the kind of French literary, academic, artistic salon experience of people from all different fields. We really want as much of a mix as possible.
I think the Sex and Nature Salon is basically what the Creative Fellowships are all about. You get an artist and you get a researcher together and you think, well, what do we have to say to each other? What themes or topics do we have in common? And it's really nice to see, on the one hand, that academic work isn't always dry. It can be really funny. Some of the researchers and academics we've had are actually also comedians. And then to see that comedy has a really interesting, critical, sharp function that can really cut through some of these topics that we present, at these sort of perfectly formed, academic, well-researched topics, and how comedy actually has a very similar function in trying to question some of our assumptions about gender and sexuality.
Something that we're both really interested in is disrupting the idea that there are individual authors of projects. We really believe that knowledge is co-created, that collaboration always produces better stuff because you get things that are greater than the sum of their parts.
There's something quite tangible about comedy that is kind of immediately approachable and understandable, which is why I think it has been so exciting. Because a lot of the stuff that we work on, history of sexuality, sexual knowledge unit, that can be quite abstract. And of course, we always try and connect with people's lives. We always try and get people to see what they think. We've worked a lot as part of our public engagement works. We've worked a lot with young LGBTQ plus people and try to see what they get out of this historical material. Also, what criticism they have to offer of the historical material. And it is so nice to insert comedy into that and to see that actually is such a perfect match.
So we're hoping that the Sex and Nature Salon can go further. I would really like it to be something that a conference or something can look at and go, oh, so this is a kind of online queer comedy cabaret, but we can put our themes into it. So it's definitely relevant to the overall like remit of the event, but also it'll be a place where people can let their hair down a little bit and play silly games and just kind of loosen up a little bit. That I think is the best role of this format. Is, you know, it brings in the important research and intellectual stuff because that's what is the scaffolding of the event, but also it uses that as then like a springboard into an improvised comedy experience.
I think that there's a real potential to carry on the collaboration, to carry on the Sex and Nature Salon, and to use it as an innovative sort of hybrid online form of engagement. It's been a great way to bring artists, comedians, researchers and different publics together. And so I really hope that we can continue using this new format to engage with a variety of publics.